Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Radar on Spread. I am the Professor John Gotti, and my co-host, my friend, my brother, Doc, is in the house. We're ready to talk some sports today. But first, Doc, how you doing today?
Man, I am doing pretty good, man. Glad we were able to jump on here because, on podcasting for us, jumping on is a lot easier than jumping off. Unlike what Ric Flair used to say, because jumping on is harder than jumping off. But,
Yes.
but for us, I think jumping on these podcasts and dropping the knowledge on people is what we do best.
Let's do it then. Let's start off with the huge news that's sweeping across the nation. Should college student athletes get paid to play the sports?
I mean, as Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game.
And
but
I'm gonna make it even better.
uh-oh.
You get paid to win the game.
This is true. But I like how these states are doing it. And if people haven't had a chance to see it, basically right now it's starting in California and it's kind of moving to New York. I'm kind of feeling New York's setup a little better, even though they're kind of all kind of tying in the same thing. But I like the wording a little better in New York. And basically the New York Senate bill is requiring student athletes to share in the university's ticket prices or ticket revenue, excuse me, which makes sense. I would say that they should go even a step beyond that, and it should go into the jersey sales and some of those other sales.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's luckily enough that they're trying to get, money from ticket sales initially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the problem is like a lot of these colleges were more afraid that, these student athletes are looking to try to get like NBA type money. No, they're just trying to get, money to just
live. Yeah, instead of eating ramen noodles and having to go to the caf. And also, and I think when you initially posted this on Facebook, I think initially somebody had responded that they just wanted college football and college basketball to come back.
That's just,
and to me,
and he's talking about the video games for
right,
the college, not
right,
actual sports,
right, and to me, it's like they always wanted to be paid because it's their likeness. Now, obviously, EA Sports could have just went out there and just paid for the licensing for the colleges and just not used the real names like they used to do back in the day, like when they didn't want to pay Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, and I think it was Shaquille O'Neal. They used to just, even though you could tell it was them, you knew it was them.
Oh yeah.
It was just player number 99, I think player number 34, those kind of things. But I mean, ultimately, I think in this situation, just pay the kids something.
Just give them something.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're getting an education. That should be more than enough. Well, yeah, because you're sitting there, diving into your vault full of coins like you're Scrooge McDuck.
Facts. Big time facts. Yeah, that's facts. I agree.
And this has been going on for, decades. And of course, to coincide with this story, there's the huge amount of whistleblowing for, student athletes getting paid to play, and we all knew this stuff was happening. It's been going on for a long time. And if you haven't watched the movie Heat Got Game, watch the movie Heat Got Game. Like, you see it. Like, these are the things that has been occurring for a long time.
And I'll even take it a step further. I'll take it a step further. It's not only He Got Game, but it's also Blue Chips.
Blue Chips as well, yes.
Blue Chips was rough. The program showed a little bit. There was a few movies that showed that kind of action, but it's like all these guys want to do is live. He's like, people know you're going to be, a draft pick, or they know they're, especially the high draft profile guys. It's like they know they're going to get picked in draft barring injury. I think what it really comes down to, and the reason why the NCAA might be against it, and if I'm an athlete, my choice of college would alter as well, is you might not be able to go to the small school and get paid. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
Because some of the small schools probably not selling out gyms and they're not selling all these jerseys. So that might be the only downfall to it.
absolutely not. They're not. They're not. I mean, yes, and it will, have harsher impacts on the, mid tier to lower tier D1 schools.
Hmm.
But we ain't talking about them.
We're
We're
not.
talking about, the Kansas of the world and
Yeah,
the USCs of the world and the Docs Dukies of the world.
that's right.
NC State had a couple of infractions happen upon them. Kansas just the other day has a few infractions on them for these very same issues.
Hmm.
And whether the coaches are involved or not, it doesn't matter because it paints, college sports in such a bad light. And once again, we have to reiterate once again, we know this has been going on for a long time. But the wonders of social media,
Hmm.
people just being salty about their lives and just wanting
Facts.
to, put things out. Like, we're going to give everyone the facts about these. Like, we're not just going to say, oh, well, this is the right thing to do. No, we know people are vindictive enough to spoil the fun. Doc and I hear all the time growing up, like, you shouldn't spoil the fun of everyone else because you are upset because you're not involved in it.
Yeah. Like I was surprised that Gilbert Arenas were coming out saying Duke players were getting paid. I was like,
Like,
how random.
like, so I went on a long tangent about
I
this. And
saw
I don't
that.
really
I
read
saw.
everything that I
Oh
read,
no, I saw it.
but there's a lot of people who like what I said, and
Oh
it's the
yeah.
things that they don't want to say. But we have to be about first. We're gonna say these things because everyone wants that 15 minutes of fame, 10 seconds of fame. They want, all these media outlets to talk about them because we're living in a TMZ world. It's all about the hot takes instead of the facts.
And I'm like, where's his? And to me, it was like, where's the proof? Like, and this
There
is
is
kind of
no
what
proof.
we,
It
it's
doesn't.
kind of what we
But it
talked
doesn't.
about with other things
It,
too. Like,
it
yeah,
doesn't matter if there's truth or people are just fibbing. It's all
right.
about who gets whatever information out first. That's what it's all about.
And I just think that's a crazy way to live, and it's a crazy thing to do in sports. I just think that with everything going on, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing about. But let's think of something small like Antonio, Brown before we move on. But it's like we don't really know his guilt or innocence yet. But we've already jumped to so many conclusions. I mean, we talked about Pro Jared, guilty. He was, hey, he's guilty.
Yep.
He didn't even do
Well,
anything.
it's she, but I think
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought it was he. I swore.
yeah,
Wait. Oh yeah. You
you're,
know what?
you're getting into the he's kind of Asian guy thing again.
Oh
Like
boy.
this is that's dipping into the LGBTQ.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Pro Jared. So I'll just say Pro Jared situation.
Yeah. Well, and the
um.
pro Jared situation is exactly what we were talking about. It's all about getting the information out first. It's
Mhm.
not about whether or not it's truth or not. It's about controlling that narrative.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we can continue to add positive media outlet, for people who want to hear about sports. And of course, if you out there, the people, want us to discuss something or want to hear our thoughts on something specific, please don't hesitate to follow us on all of our social media outlets at, of course, Debate Amongst Friends. And of course, you can always go on Anchor and click that little sponsorship button there, as well as leave us messages so that we can play it on the show and we can make sure we answer them for you. But at this particular time, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Doc, I'm so sorry. Folks, welcome back. We're going to get ourselves away from just talking about the collegiate areas and payment and things like that. And let's hit the gridiron. And I had to apologize to the Doc because we're going to have to talk about his Buccaneers, who they fell. I mean, despite the fact that they lost the game,
Right.
it was still a very close game.
It shouldn't have
You
been.
mentioned that Jameis had an incredible game,
One of the best games ever.
like one of his best games, and they still lost.
Yes.
I mean, the story was more about Daniel Jones.
Right. I mean, it was kind of like we should have changed his name from Daniel to Davy Jones.
Davy Jones, because they put the Buccaneers in the
On the
locker.
yes, all straight walking the plank out there. So, I didn't get a chance to watch this whole game because I was coaching football myself. But when I came home, I'm looking at the live ticker on Bleacher Report, and I'm just watching. I'm looking at Jameis, and I'm seeing he's thrown like 3 touchdowns in like the first half. To Mike
All
Evans.
Mike Evans, yep.
And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. We're winning, we're up, and then when I got home, actually, Saquon Barkley had just got hurt.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, Saquon Barkley's out. And even before he went out, I mean, we were holding him to 1.2 yards per carry.
Yes.
And
Which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Shaquan, get
Yes.
back soon.
Get back soon.
Healthy. Yes.
But again, as I said last week about Drew Brees, I mean, I'm happy he didn't tear us up.
This is true.
I'm sorry he went down, but then again, Daniel Jones tore us up, which is what we wanted. We wanted to make Daniel Jones beat us.
Yep.
So I don't know what happened coming out of half, but the Giants just was like, you know what? Somebody even made a joke like Daniel Jones went into the huddle and just started cursing at everybody, like, let's effing go or something like that, and then they just started exploding with touchdowns, basically.
But isn't it apropos that not only did you want Daniel Jones to beat your team,
right,
but it was actually him who ran it for the game
2 times. 2 times. Well, see, here's the thing. So here's the part where I'm like, my mind is just like blown. So 2 things happened at the end of this game. So number one, Jameis threw a great pass to Mike Evans. It wasn't a perfect pass, but it was a great pass to get us in field goal range. Had he put it out in front of Mike Evans, obviously he runs in for a touchdown super easy because Mike Evans was destroying Janoris Jenkins. Janoris Jenkins looked like his lock power was not activated this whole game. And Mike Evans was taking him to school every single time he ran down the field. Jameis puts his ball out a little bit to the right. We're not even talking about a loss right now. We're talking about a 2-1 Buccaneers team. Second part is freaking Matt Gay. I mean, Matt Gay, our kicker, went 4 for 5. I do believe he missed an extra point. Oh no, he missed an extra point. Then one was blocked, and then he missed, of course, the game winner. In which the controversial part is that Bruce Arians took the delay of game penalty to move him back to ultimately an extra point distance, which I don't know. That's the storyline, coming out of the game. Ultimately, it's a kick that a kicker should make.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know. I was pretty disappointed.
You praised him last week.
He's on my. He's on my fantasy team. I like the guy. I mean, he's a pretty good guy. Matt Gay is a great kicker. I'm not gonna go worrying about kickers right now. We've had a really, really rough stretch, but I mean, this was a tough one to lose, especially being in a position to win the game.
Yeah, it was definitely a winnable game.
It just hurt. I guess the last.
So, like, your offense played the way it should.
In the first half.
Yes.
In the first half.
It played the way it should play. The second half, they played like
they were in cruise control. People said they went into cruise control, which I didn't watch it, but I can see it based on, the drives. I think the first 6 drives, we had 6 straight scoring drives. So it was touchdown.
I wouldn't say cruise control. I would say they played very conservative. Like they played like it was like 45-7.
That's exactly how they played. And that, what's funny is because that's how I usually say that, James Harden plays for Houston. Like he plays like he has 5 fouls already. That's how he plays defense. The Bucks, something about my teams that they just don't have that killer instinct. And I think that's what Bruce Arians is trying to install on his team. Now, I will say The only person that has a killer instinct so far on this team is Shaq Barrett. He is playing out of his mind. He had 4 sacks on Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, wow.
Wow. I was like, he really said that too. I'm gonna let that
Oh
one
my
go until
God.
he realized it.
Daniel Bryan, Daniel freaking Jones. He had 4 sacks on Daniel Jones. I think it's because I was looking at an update from Bleacher Report about SmackDown tonight. Daniel Jones, he got sacked 4 times by Shaq Barrett alone. He got a strip fumble right after the Bucks threw an interception. So he's the only person that's really been like a big free agent payoff, and I think we have him for the minimum. So I'm sure he's going to be looking to get paid this offseason. And I wouldn't be
Absolutely.
surprised if we let JPP walk to keep him.
I would not be against that move, actually.
Yeah, because I mean, JPP hurt his neck, so I don't know if he'll ever be the same.
And
However,
he would be the same again.
I don't want to stick too far on the Bucks. I know we got some other games here, but speaking of never being the same again, I don't think the NFL thought they were ever going to be the same as 2 of our great young quarterbacks went toe to toe. Mahomes versus Ravens. You said this one was exactly as advertised
Yes.
when you
So
turned it on.
when despite what I'm hearing from the media, the criticism about Lamar Jackson, this game was exactly as advertised. Exactly the way that I said it last week, and I did pick the Chiefs to win.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the way it's supposed to be.
I mean, what are they saying?
So they was criticizing Lamar Jackson, and I'm gonna pick on that pissant
Oh,
Stephen A. Blasphemous Smith.
sure.
So Lamar Jackson threw for just around that 50% range.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had a pretty moderate, QBR,
22 for
whatever.
43. I can see that. 267, no touchdowns, but it's fine. He ran one.
He did run for one. So the criticism was he kept missing, and they're right. He kept missing touchdown throws. Like his receivers, and we talked about how there was certain safeties and cornerbacks getting burnt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talked about that before the podcast. Like
Sure.
this is another game where the Ravens they got some pretty good weapons on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
They have Marquise Brown was torching them. Of course and when I say that and you look at the stats, it doesn't
Sure.
translate.
Oh, I get it.
But they got themselves in a position to become wide open, or
He
at
was,
least have gain the advantage over the secondary
he was just
player
missing them.
that is guarding them. But he
Mm-hmm.
was just missing them.
And I
And
noticed
yes,
that. I
some of
noticed
them
that with
were
Lamar.
home run balls.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that with Mark Andrews because that's a guy that I picked up last week on waivers, and all you can do is hope that Lamar Jackson gets in the ball. But I mean, ultimately, the game was still pretty close. I mean, we're talking about
Very
28 to
close.
33. So
Well, and here's the thing though, like the Ravens shut down the Chiefs in the first quarter.
I see that.
Like and I was texting during the first quarter too. I'm
You
like,
were.
I'm
You
like, Patrick
were.
Mahomes he getting sacked. Like he looked like he might be getting frustrated. But
Mm,
it's only the first quarter.
sure.
Only the first quarter. We're talking about the reigning,
Uh-oh.
defending, undisputed,
Uh-oh.
most valuable player of the NFL.
You just turned up a little bit. Hopefully people didn't get an echo there.
He he upped the ante in the second
Mm,
quarter and they scored 23 points.
I see
I mean,
that.
Patrick Mahomes is a living freaking cheat code. Like this is where, oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. And of course, the Ravens had to come back from that. And they did. I mean, third quarter, it was pretty much, you know, back and forth seesawing. But that fourth quarter, though, like the Ravens really try to fight.
But
Like
let
they
me
could have
ask
definitely
though.
won this game.
Let me ask. So if the Ravens win this game, I'm wondering if the Chiefs get the same treatment that the Bucks get. giving up a, let's see, they had a 23-point lead going into halftime. Bucks had an 18-point lead going into halftime. If the Ravens win this game, I'm wondering if the
Well,
Chiefs.
the Chiefs had a 15-point lead going into halftime.
That's what I meant. No, it says, oh yeah, 6. Sorry. 15-point lead. 15, 18. Hey, listen, they're up 23-6. So
Okay,
to me,
they're
it's
they're they're up they're up three touchdowns.
yeah, I didn't even see that 6 there. So it's pretty much
Yeah,
23. It was 23 nothing in my eye, but they still had a pretty significant lead. I'm wondering if they blow this lead, if it's the same reaction. Oh my God, the Chiefs blew. You
yep,
know,
yep.
I don't
And
believe that either.
that's where it's so hilarious when it comes to speaking about the media, because they would be, lording over Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's is here and all this other stuff. No, no. So we always hear about the notion, if the team wins, it's because of the quarterback, and the team loses it's because of the quarterback. The team lost.
Hmm.
The Ravens lost because of the play calling.
Well, again,
There was some boneheaded stuff and disciplined stuff too, because there was a few holds that happened that ruined some of their drives. They
mhm.
went for 2-point conversions when they really shouldn't have. They went for it on fourth and distance when they really shouldn't have. Like, they really made some bad, just X's and O's decisions
Hmm.
that led to their loss as well too. But no one is talking about that. They're talking about because Lamar Jackson couldn't throw the ball down the field.
Which I honestly don't think any Ravens quarterback really ever has thrown down the field like that.
No,
Now you think about the history of the Ravens, I mean, no Ravens quarterback has really ever dominated through the air like that. They're a run team, so you just don't expect them to do that well. And I mean, and that kind of goes with the next games that we're going to cover, moving beyond, the young guns and looking at a team like the Panthers and the Cardinals, which is the week matchup this week with the Panthers, first game without Cam Newton. They didn't even put um, the player that I expected them to put in for Cam Newton. For some reason, they went with Kyle Allen, and I was very, very surprised with that. I was expecting them to go with the highly anticipated Will Greer from West
mm-hmm.
Virginia. I mean, everybody thought Will Greer was going to be like a number one overall pick until I guess the combine. But they went with Kyle Allen. He goes 19 for 26, 261, 4 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey put up
Don't be surprised if he's in an
153
MVP
yards.
conversation.
Oh, Kyle Allen?
No,
I was
Christian
about to say,
McCaffrey.
I was like, wait, what? I don't know if Christian McCaffrey will be in it only because he's probably gonna need at least one more week because he got shut down by the Bucks. I think if he didn't
Yes.
get shut down by the Bucks, he probably would be. But because he got shut down by the Bucks, might have to just take a step back before we throw him in there. Let's see what happens. Cam is really, really on the decline, not so much skill wise, but health wise. Like his body is just falling apart. Like
You
his
remember what I said last week? You remember what I said last week?
I mean, I hear a lot of things. So you have to remind the people what you said last week.
When people were, making all these memes and making fun of Cam Newton because of the way that he dressed, and I'm like, don't be surprised. Because I think I read this on a Reddit article. Like, don't be surprised if we find out that he is suffering from CTE.
Well,
And no one knows about this.
well,
No one's speaking about that.
so I don't, but that's the thing. I don't know if it's like, so as far as the CTE part, that's possible. But I'm talking about his foot. I'm talking about his shoulder. Like above the shoulders. I don't know what's going on with Cam because I mean anything could be going on. But you're right though; he's taking a lot of hits, and this season I don't think they've even tried to run him as much. Um,
No.
they really try to get him to pass. Obviously, their offense is in tune because Kyle Allen was able to go out there and execute efficiently. Getting people involved. Um, and he actually revitalized some people because Greg Olson was struggling. A lot of people were struggling, but now you look at the stats and it's like he's spreading it around a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cam's time could be coming to an end.
I mean, it could just be the season of the passing of the guards.
Yeah, and we talked about that. And speaking on the other side, you want to talk about somebody not being able to throw the ball down the field. I think you shouldn't look at Lamar Jackson. You might be able to look at freaking Kyler Murray, who's been somewhat disappointing so far.
Very pedestrian.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: the last two games, he has been able to rely heavily on Larry Fitzgerald. But this past game, it doesn't look like they hooked up too much. But it looks like he was really targeting Christian Kirk. But at the same time, I just don't think we can really go by these numbers because that Panthers defense is no slouch. So I can't,
No.
yeah, I can't say that, it's Kyler Murray. But I just
Well,
know
and,
that,
and that's the funniest part. Like, no one's talking about this game.
yeah,
Like,
only reason.
no one's giving Kyler Murray the Lamar Jackson treatment.
Right, and he's the number one overall pick. You would think that Baker Mayfield was the number one overall pick this year, and we're going to get to Baker in a few minutes. But you would think that we skip right past Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield still the number one overall pick.
Exactly.
But let's quickly move on so that we can make sure we stay on time here. Saints versus Seahawks. The Saints without Drew Brees for this week against the Seahawks. The Seahawks who beat the Steelers who lost Big Ben. Seahawks they lucked out so far. But unfortunately, they lost this particular game without the starting quarterback as Teddy Bridgewater was able to get the ball to Alvin Kamara over and over again.
Yeah.
Which worked. I mean, it absolutely worked. I think Alvin Kamara is slowly becoming, a top 5 back as certain backs are starting to fall. Le'Veon Bell in New York starting to fall a little bit. David Johnson in Arizona.
Because he's with the Jets, unfortunately, too.
But that's what happens with Steelers players, though. And when you look at the Steelers, any player that leaves the Steelers typically doesn't do well.
What? Yes.
I mean, and they lost to the 49ers, 24-20. Not terrible. Mason Rudolph wasn't terrible, 14 for 27, 174. Obviously, they didn't get the running game going with James Conner. But between these two games, I mean, if these are your futures, you can tell it's gonna be an adjustment period. With the Steelers and the Saints, it's gonna be a major adjustment period. But the one thing that people are not talking about right now is that the 49ers are 3-0.
3-0. Yep.
And that's huge. That's pretty huge.
They're the unspoken talk of the town.
And you know what else people don't talk about? That the Buffalo Bills are 3-0 as well.
Exactly. Once again, it's all about, it's because all the hype that was surrounding the Browns, so now everyone wants to follow the Browns.
Mm-hmm. So
we acted like the Browns going to come out the gate. We'll get to that.
But you know what? We are going to get to that because you know what that brings us up to? That brings us up to panic meter. The panic meter for these next couple of teams. Are we ringing that panic meter button right now, or should we just chill out? And of course, since we've already brought it up, how about those Browns?
I'm not hitting that button yet.
You're not going to hit it yet. 3 games into the season. They're 1-2.
3 games. Yeah. Here's the problem. We talked about this in detail, both on the podcast and off the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone became hyped for the Browns because the media hyped up the Browns. Everyone really drank that Kool-Aid because people kept saying that they're going to go to the Super Bowl and all this other stuff. Suddenly, because of Odell and all this
right,
stuff.
Right.
Suddenly, about a few weeks before the season began, even before preseason began, that's when the media turned their backs on the Browns. They're
Hmm.
overhyped. They're overrated. Blah 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 blah. And now that they're underperforming, oh well, it's time to hit this pit. No, 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 no. They got a first year head coach, second year Baker Mayfield. They're still trying to gel. Of course, there's issues as far as getting the coach acclimated because there's a lot of issues when it comes to discipline. There was issues as far as practicing towards the beginning of the season. Like, give it time. They'll stop. Stop. I'm not
Honestly,
hitting.
I mean, I'm going to hit the panic button just a little bit. I
Okay.
felt that they made the wrong hiring decision. I felt they should have kept Greg Williams as the head coach instead of Freddie
I
Kitchens.
I would agree
I,
with that.
and that's the only reason I'm going to hit the panic button. I don't think Freddie Kitchens was the right move. I know, he's a confident person and the players react to him, but I mean, players react well to a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that that's the person for the job. And we've seen that
Yeah.
in all sports, where you have a good coach who can coach and is very successful in what they do. They just can't get the W's. And
Mark
that's why I'm
Jackson.
exactly. That's why I am not. Yeah, I had to bring it in one more time. That's why I'm not hitting the panic button fully. But you have those Mark
You just
Jacksons
put
of the
the
world.
you just put that pinky button on there.
Yeah, just a little bit, a little English on it,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
No, and I can respect that. But we're talking about people are like slamming this button, to the cows go home. Like, oh my gosh, they're supposed to be three. No, stop it.
I mean, as long as they're not
Stop
burning jerseys, and I think that's where the panic meter really goes up when the jerseys get burned and the paper bags come out. Dolphins watch.
it. No, the Dolphins. I'm hitting that one. That one, I'm hitting that button.
I mean, I can understand why you would hit that button. They're just not playing well right now. They're just not a good team. I don't know what they're gonna do, but that meter's been pushed probably week 1 and 2. They've been pushing it, and we
Yeah,
tried
we
we tried we tried last week to get them to calm down, but it's a lost cause.
well, it's crazy that they have flashes of really, really being good
Hmm.
against the Cowboys,
They did.
and then it's kind of like how the Knicks played last year.
Right.
Like they had those signs, but they're like, okay, this is about to be a really competitive game. And all of a sudden,
Crapshoot. Yeah.
done.
And I mean, and
So what else?
we could say the same thing for the Redskins. I think the Redskins had not super high hopes, but I think with the Redskins, because they have specific pieces, and a lot of people are waiting for the Dwayne Haskins era to begin, and that's
Yeah,
probably why they're hitting the panic button. Of course, Case Keenum went out and threw 3 interceptions against the Bears, and they're 0-3 as well. Their
so he threw
running
5.
game, hmm,
I thought he threw 5.
not says
No, it
3
was 5.
here.
It was
Five
5 in the first
turnovers.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be 5 turnovers, but yeah, they were killing Case Keenum, and I'm sure people are waiting and just saying, "Hey, listen, let's just put Dwayne Haskins in." It worked for the Giants, even though a lot of people think that the Giants should have took Haskins over Jones, but there's something about Jones that the Giants just liked, and something about Haskins that the Redskins said we can't pass on him because we don't want to go any further down. Even though there were several other quarterbacks to draft, they just said, let's go with him. I honestly think Case Keenum, he's 0-3. Your season's going downhill. I think if you lose one more, you move on to Haskins or whoever else you have.
I believe next game they're gonna do the change of quarterback.
Might as well. Because, I mean, you got New York did it. I mean, I'm pretty sure Miami did it. They went to Josh Rosen. Um, I don't know if Cam's going to get back in. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Probably
And
not.
yeah, I'm
Probably
not
not.
sure. He might be done. So,
They
but
might shut down for the season actually.
yeah, they might. But for the Redskins, definitely hitting the panic meter,
Yeah.
like maybe several times. But Let's take a quick break and come back and finish up this show strong.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of every show, we like to do what's called a 2-minute drill where we go over specific topics for the week that we didn't cover in today's show. First up, LaMelo Ball getting number 1 pick draft status already before college basketball even starts. Over to you, Prof.
This coming Saturday, the NBA training camps officially begins for all of the NBA clubs. September 30th is when the preseason games begin for teams competing globally, which of course includes Doc's Rockets. And the regular season begins October 22nd. Get hyped.
Getting hype. And speaking of the NBA, the Warriors signed Marquise Chris, former first-round pick, as well as the Rockets signed Thabo Sefolosha, which would increase their defensive proficiency. Over to you, Prof.
And still keep with the NBA, the reigning, defending, most valuable player of the association, Giannis Antetokounmpo, was fined $50,000 due to tampering. This is in lieu of the brand new tampering bylaws done a few weeks ago, actually, by the NBA.
Excellent.
Thank you for listening to Debate Amongst Friends. Give us a follow on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You can also listen to all of our Debate Amongst Friends podcasts here on Anchor, as well as Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iTunes.
And like we always say, goodbye, mwah, and to all, a good night. LASG.
Peace to you.
Yay!